Hi listeners, it's Janine Taylor, different venue today, sitting in my car waiting for my daughter to come out of cheering and actually realizing it's been such a while since we've posted and such a while since we've had a little catch-up chat and video, and I was reminded by a conversation I've just had about anxieties being so prevalent in everyday life, but also around OCD. And what I'm discovering in practice is that OCD is probably one of the most understated, underrated, and underdiagnosed symptomatology that we have at the moment. So what do I mean by that? Is that there are so many people out there that have OCD that don't even realize that they have OCD because it's normal for them. It's become part of their norm. They don't know anything better. So if we look at that, we'll say, well, what is OCD? OCD is based on obsessive compulsive disorder. What does that really mean? It means when you think in ways that are overly obsessive, or you perform activities, behaviors that are very obsessive, or you have certain rules in your head that you've created that you believe to be true, and you act according to those rules. So what could that look like? That could look like somebody who's constantly checking the locks on their house, and they've already checked it, but there's a little thought that comes into their head, and it's called an intrusive thought that says, maybe I didn't check properly, maybe I let that slip. And then they go around and they check again. And then they finish checking, and then they're about to leave the house, but they just think, what if I missed that one? What if I missed that door next to that window? Let me go back and check again. That is obsessive, when once isn't enough. Another form of it is hand washing. Washing your hands when you get back from home, which after COVID, we understand that's a necessity. After you've been to the bathroom, washing your hands is a necessity. Also, when you're about to eat, washing your hands is considered normal necessity. So it goes beyond that. And a good cue is check your hands. Okay, do they seem red? Do they almost seem purple? Is the skin almost coming off? If that's an indication, you're washing your hands too frequently. That's a form of OCD. That's an obsessive thought that you have called an intrusive thought that tells you, if I don't wash my hands, something bad is going to happen, right? That constant belief is a rule that you've created for yourself, and you're acting from that belief. Another form of OCD is having to touch certain places of the house, or step over certain tiles, or step a certain way, with the belief that if I don't step a certain way, something bad might happen. Maybe you have the belief, if I don't touch that light, something bad is going to happen to a family member. Or if I don't walk on the tiles, on these specific tiles, then something bad is going to happen to a loved one. That's not reality. That's not truth. That's not of the world. That is a rule you've made up in your head. So certain things like that are identifiers for obsessive compulsive disorder. A lot of people, and a good way to be able to identify it is numbers. Some people have a real thing for numbers, where they have certain numbers where if these numbers are good numbers, those numbers are bad numbers, and if something happens and it's a bad number, then something bad's going to happen to them because it's their bad numbers. An example might be that they get 3 letters in the post today, and 3 is their bad number. Now they believe something bad's going to happen. That is one example of it. Another example where you can deal with numbers is when you're counting steps. You count steps in a certain way. Where you're walking up steps, well, you only walk up every second step because you only like even numbers. And you won't walk up step by step because those are considered odd numbers. Those are all ritualized behaviors that make you feed into certain things that aren't true. Another example, of course, is obsessive. All exercise can become obsessive compulsive. It's standard procedure to exercise once a day, at least half an hour to an hour. But then you'll get people that are obsessive, that are exercising for 3 or 4 hours a day, with the belief that if they don't exercise for 3 or 4 hours a day, something bad is going to happen. Or people that are hyper focused on eating, and if they don't eat certain things, or if they do eat certain things are going to happen. So OCD can present itself in many ways. I need you to know that it is a form of anxiety. If we think of anxiety as an umbrella, and we think of OCD as one of the spokes in the umbrella, there are other spokes. There are generalized anxiety disorder, there is social anxiety disorder, there are certain phobias that people have, phobias like agoraphobia, fear of crowds, fear of enclosed spaces. all types of phobias. Arachnophobia, fear of spiders here in Australia. I don't think there's many fears of spiders because there's too many spiders. I think people become desensitized to the spiders actually. But those are typical examples. So start noticing what is this OCD, and when it starts becoming disruptive in your life, a cue for that is what I'm doing taking 10 or 20 minutes off my usual routine. So often you'll find people with OCD, they are late for things. They are late for things, they're seldom on time because their rituals are slowing them down. It's blocking their ability to manage their time. So that's important. Another important thing I forgot to mention, lists. Often an indicator that you're OCD is you have a list upon a list upon a list, and then just in case you had a backup list. So if you're somebody that tends to have lists upon list, that's your cue too that there may be some OCD creeping in there. Why is it good to know? It's good to know just to keep an eye on it, to realize that sometimes you might be thinking certain things that aren't healthy, you're thinking certain things that aren't true, and that is driving up your anxiety levels. So just being aware of that and learning to challenge those thought processes is a massive step in the right direction. Also, the degree and the severity of OCD differs depending on the person. So it's important to also look at yourself and to understand, like, is this severely impacting my life? And if it is, good to start therapy. Good to start therapy and start looking at some tools. Exposure therapy is usually a treatment option where you start exposing yourself less and less to the compulsive behaviors as you learn that, hang on, I didn't wash my hands now, and look, I didn't develop a disease. I'm not in hospital. The only way the brain's going to learn something different is if it sees something different. Anyway, so I hope this helped. Feel free to comment and take care.